Money is supposed to bring families together. That's the story most people believe. Wealth means security, comfort, and generational stability. But for those who have extreme wealth, the truth is far more complicated. In private rooms, behind closed doors, and inside documents you will never see. The richest families in the world operate by a very different rule. Money changes everything, including love. The more wealth involved, the more fragile family relationships become. Expectations grow, entitlement creeps in, trust slowly erodes, and so quietly and methodically, the rich do something that sounds almost unthinkable to outsiders. They protect their money not only from markets, governments, and strangers, but from their own family. The moment wealth turns family into a risk. But for the wealthy, family often becomes the greatest financial uncertainty they will ever face. The shift usually happens slowly. It starts with small requests, a loan that is never repaid, a business idea that must be funded because we're family, a lifestyle that quietly expands to match the assumption of permanent support. Over time, wealth stops being a shared blessing and becomes a silent obligation. What the public rarely understands is that rich families don't fall apart because of greed alone. They fall apart because wealth removes natural limits. When money is unlimited, boundaries disappear. Every disagreement becomes more intense because the stakes are higher. Every inheritance conversation carries emotional weight that can stretch across decades. Wealth magnifies personality traits that already exist. Responsibility turns into entitlement. Gratitude fades into expectation. And the original wealth creator often realizes something deeply unsettling. The people they love most may not be capable of managing the consequences of what they built. This realization is not sudden or dramatic. It comes quietly, often after years of guilt and denial. The wealthy begin to see patterns repeat across generations. Children who never develop independence. Relatives who fight over money rather than purpose. Families torn apart by lawsuits after death. At that point, asset protection stops being about numbers and starts being about survival, of the family legacy, of personal peace, and sometimes of relationships themselves. Why inheritance is the most dangerous word in wealth? Inheritance sounds noble in theory, a gift passed down, a legacy preserved. But among the ultra-wealthy, inheritance is one of the most emotionally charged and strategically dangerous concepts in existence. Statistics quietly confirm what wealthy advisors have known for decades. Most inherited fortunes disappear within 2 or 3 generations. Not because of bad luck, but because of human behavior. When money arrives without struggle, it often arrives without understanding. The heir receives wealth, but not the discipline, context, or mindset that created it. This creates a psychological disconnect. Money becomes something to consume, not something to protect or grow. Even worse, inheritance can freeze personal development. Why take risks, learn resilience, or build skills when comfort is guaranteed? The wealthy are painfully aware of this pattern. That's why inheritance is rarely as simple as a lump sum transfer. Instead, it becomes layered, conditional, and deliberately slow. Wealth is released in stages, tied to age, behavior, or responsibility. Some inherit control without ownership. Others inherit income without access to the principal. This is not cruelty. It is control designed to prevent collapse. What shocks outsiders is how often inheritance structures are intentionally unequal. Not all children receive the same access. Not all relatives are trusted equally. The idea of fairness is replaced with the idea of stability. The goal is no longer emotional balance, but preservation of capital across time. In wealthy families, love may be unconditional, but money almost never is. Trusts, control without confrontation. Trusts are one of the most misunderstood tools in wealth protection. To the public, they sound like technical legal instruments used for tax advantages. In reality, trusts are psychological tools as much as financial ones. They allow the wealthy to maintain control without constant confrontation. Instead of saying, "I don't trust you," a trust quietly enforces rules without emotion. A trust separates ownership from access. The assets exist, but they are governed by terms written years or decades earlier. This removes daily conflict from family relationships. There is no need to argue about money when the rules are already set. Trustees become the neutral buffer between family members and wealth. Decisions feel institutional rather than personal, which protects relationships from direct resentment. For wealthy individuals, this structure provides peace of mind. They can support family members without empowering destructive behavior. They can encourage education, responsibility, and long-term thinking through incentives built into the trust itself. Misspend and access tightens. Mature and access expands. The system quietly teaches lessons that direct conversations often fail to deliver. Trusts also protect families from themselves during emotional moments. Grief, divorce, addiction, and conflict are all moments when impulsive financial decisions are most likely. A trust doesn't care about emotion, it follows rules. And in doing so, it protects wealth from being destroyed during the very moments when families are at their weakest. Prenups, postnups, and the cost of love. Few topics expose the tension between love and money more clearly than marriage. Among the wealthy, marriage is not just an emotional union. It is a financial event with long-term consequences. Prenuptial and postnuptial agreements are often misunderstood as signs of mistrust or cold calculation. In reality, they are a form of honesty that wealth makes unavoidable. The wealthy understand something many others don't. Divorce is not just a personal failure. It is a financial earthquake. Assets built over decades can be divided in months. Businesses can be destabilized. Family wealth can leak outside the bloodline permanently. Prenups exist to define boundaries before emotions complicate everything. What makes these agreements controversial is not their existence, but their precision. They often protect family assets separately from marital assets. Inherited wealth is treated differently from earned income. Future growth is anticipated and controlled. These documents are written when love is strongest, not weakest, precisely because clarity is easier before conflict exists. For the wealthy, prenups are not about planning for failure. They are about removing uncertainty. They protect both partners by eliminating financial ambiguity. Love continues freely when money is no longer a silent threat. Ironically, many wealthy individuals believe these agreements strengthen marriages by removing one of the most common sources of resentment and power imbalance. Why wealthy families limit access, not support. One of the biggest misconceptions about rich families is that they cut off support to teach lessons. In reality, they often provide more support than average families, but with far less access. Support is structured, predictable, and intentionally limited. Access is where danger lives. Unlimited access creates dependency. Limited access creates agency. Wealthy families design systems where family members receive stability without losing motivation. Living expenses may be covered, but luxuries must be earned. Education is funded, but lifestyle inflation is discouraged. This approach creates a controlled environment where failure is survivable, but recklessness is not rewarded. This model also protects family dynamics. When access is unlimited, every relationship risks turning transactional. Conversations become negotiations. Love becomes leverage. By limiting access, wealthy families protect the emotional integrity of relationships. Money stops being the main topic of interaction. To outsiders, this can appear harsh or elitist. But within wealthy circles, it is seen as responsible stewardship. Wealth is not meant to replace character. It is meant to support it. Families that fail to understand this often watch their wealth dissolve, while relationships fracture under the weight of expectation. Silence, secrecy, and selective transparency. One of the most powerful tools wealthy families use is silence. Details are shared selectively. Not everyone knows the full picture. This is not paranoia, it is strategy. Information itself becomes a form of access, and limiting it reduces conflict and manipulation. When everyone knows everything, everyone feels entitled to an opinion. When details are compartmentalized, influence is contained. Wealthy families often operate on a need-to-know basis, even within the same household. This prevents alliances, resentment, and coordinated pressure. Selective transparency also protects younger generations. Knowing too much too early can distort identity and ambition. Wealth is revealed gradually, often tied to maturity milestones. This allows individuals to develop a sense of self that is not entirely defined by money. Silence in this context is not about hiding wealth. It is about controlling its psychological impact. The richest families understand that money shapes behavior long before it changes circumstances. Managing information is as important as managing assets themselves. If this perspective challenged the way you think about wealth, power, and family, stay here. Subscribe because the next conversations go even deeper into the psychology, systems, and silent rules that shape the world behind money.